The Suzuki needed a lot of work on the wiring harness, including some upgrades and replacing all of the insulation. The regulator rectifier circuit was redone and the new regulator was retrofitted. The speedometer cluster needed a lot of love, with a custom gear indicator control circuit build included. The handle switches were completely refurbished. Then I needed to assemble a set of turn signal indicators from the pile of indicators I've collected. I restored the airbox, including softening the boot rubbers. The contact breaker assembly needed to be measured, installed and tuned. I had to rebuild the entire rear part of the wiring harness, since the Suzuki came with this part cut out. The headlight was the last electrical part to install. With the new wiring harness laid down, I could finally connect everything together and watch the motorcycle slowly come back to life. As expected, the wiring harness and a lot of electrical connections and wiring were a total mess. Everything that was touch and not original was handled sloppy and ugly. I cut out all destroyed and tired insulation and made new ones. Then I started to identify the areas that needed replacing or rewiring. I made two significant changes to the wiring to improve it. The first was to omit the circuit that was turning the third phase of the alternator off when the headlight and taillight were turned off. This was unnecessary functionality and was loading the handle switch with quite high current, and the circuit was vulnerable to failures. The second change was to adapt a modern regulator rectifier to the circuit. The original one that consisted of a separate regulator and rectifier was obsolete, prone to failures, very expensive, nearly impossible to acquire, and in my case the rectifier itself turned out to be dead and nearly impossible to repair due to the unavailability of diodes from the era. I had to find a modern and reliable regulator that would fit the stator, handle the load, and find a good place with enough cooling for it. I chose a modern and reliable Suzuki GS550 regulator and fabricated a bracket to mount it near the battery. The speedometer is cracked right here. This thing glued in some places and like after a major crash, but most importantly the disc underneath, it's in really good shape, so we'll take it from this one. That's pretty much it. Nothing more can be extracted from this speedometer. I needed this Suzuki sign, just like on mine, different one than in our speedometer. Yeah, but then I found this one, corpses. To open this kind of speedometer, it's best to put some kind of shield right here. So you just pry it out very slowly, a little bit at a time, work it out, and then you pull this apart. Original speedometer, all mechanisms are in very good shape. repaired. This thread was destroyed. Grinding it out, we'll drill a small hole, put this inside and weld it soaked with water around, not to melt the plastic. Pull the element down after every tiny spot. No damaged plastic at all. And it's done. I have to rethread it. Bit of anti-corrosive paint with zinc. Of course it would be better to plate it, but it's impossible. It's inside the plastic, so disassemble. Keep like this and here. The rubber cushions inside the speedometer were one of many rubber parts that were missing or heavily deteriorated, very expensive and hard to acquire. During the restoration, I've created a lot of models for those parts and printed them with soft chemical resistant material, taking care that the hardness is the same as it should be in the original part. The electronic LCD gear indicator was something extraordinary for the era, so I really cared about making it functional. Mine was toasted, like most of them. As with most of the electrical parts, the original was nearly impossible to find, very expensive, and it didn't make sense to look for retro unreliable electronics that would probably fail sooner rather than later. I decided to disassemble it and try to use only the liquid crystal display, taking care not to overload it, so I had to calculate the allowable voltages based on what I got. After soldering in proper resistors, I mapped the display and wrote code for ATmega controller, which controlled the original 7-segment display based on analog inputs from the original gear position sensor. Everything was powered by a protected 12-volt step-down. The controller was then hermetically sealed and packed inside a cluster so that nobody could tell it was there. Last parts for cleaning, blasting, ultrasonic cleaning. contact cleaner. This switch is a state of the art. Just look at this. I was wondering why this reposition switch doesn't hold the last position, and it was like wobbly, and it's because I didn't mount this spring, and this spring is for blinking. It loads the switch and let it go back. Just look at this engineering, the aluminum casting sheet, metal springs, so analog. I push it, it goes back. Original. Tetris, like this, and it's in starter. Oh, I'm so afraid I will strip those threads. They are so old and aluminum, and it's M3, so you have no feeling at all. The horn was glass bead blasted, then all of the creases were treated with a phosphoric acid based rust encapsulator, then I painted it with an epoxy based black paint. I'm trying to assemble 4 good blinkers from all this stuff. I got like 10 or 12 indicators. I'm trying to assemble a single set. I love to do it with all the metal parts. I'll have a perfect one on the front and nearly perfect one on the back. Turn indicator signals are the main thing that breaks, so they are original apart from 2 of those and a couple of screws. I'll be correcting the original wiring to make it work better. We'll have all metal. So now soda blasting here, polishing here, and then ultrasonic cleaning. This, what you can see here, is how I got this bike. Rear combination blinkers were disconnected or just cut. I got every color right, apart from this one. This one was supposed to be a black and white. This size was unavailable in this color, so a pickle. And the second thing I have a really hard time accepting is putting the custom connector here. I got original here, but there was no way I could get this from any source. Yeah, so I have to put a custom one and cut this one. Can you imagine? Here we go. That hurts. I'm making a special mixture to try to soften the rubber. This rubber was like a plastic, 100% hard, like from ABS. Look at this. This is so soft. I thought it was this soft when it was new. It's astonishing and it shines like new. This is how a contact breaker looks after 50 years and 50,000 kilometers. But we'll repair it. Here is the test. We're checking our cylinder 2 and 3. Perfectly aligned. It stopped beeping. When the multimeter stops beeping, it means this is the first moment where the contact is broken. 2, 3, and here's F mark nearly there, and there you go. It's the same on the 1 and 4. The bad news is that it won't look like that when you start the engine. Headlight assembly is pretty complicated. This entire assembly is made out of 3 rings. The first ring is just a case. Then you got an inner ring that is zinc plated. I replated it. Then you got a ring that holds the headlight. They move and turn related to each other, so you can set how much the headlight is turned left or right. And this is the assembly you use to regulate the movement. But you have to have an axles that it's moving on. This is the axle. You can't just screw it in. You have to give it a spacer, because if you just squeeze it in, it won't move or you bend this plate. And then you put this special nut, and then you put a spacer to check if they will be high enough, because they're either not original or they are squeezed. Got some rubber grommets that I can put here, or I can print some. They're not high enough. When I squeeze them fully, there is still a gap here. It will become loose, so I'd like to put a little bit more material here. I was very lucky to find a original, very fresh back of a headlight, really good condition. There's no old stock, so the chrome is pretty good. Freshy.